The pharmacist looked at the woman standing before him and said the words she had been dreading all morning. "I'm sorry, ma'am. That's the price. I can't reduce it." Her hand trembled as she held the small white prescription slip. Her son's name was written there in black ink, a name she had whispered in prayer every single night for the past 3 years, a name that meant her whole world. And right now, that name was depending on medicine she simply could not afford. Her name was Elena, and she was a single mother. Her son, Matteo, was 7 years old. He had the brightest brown eyes and a laugh that could fill their small apartment with sunshine. But Matteo also had a condition, a rare respiratory illness that required daily medication. Without it, the simplest cold could become dangerous. Without it, he struggled to breathe. Elena worked as a cleaner at a local hotel. She woke up at 4 in the morning, took 2 buses across town, and scrubbed floors and bathrooms until her hands were raw. She did it without complaint because every penny she earned went toward Matteo's medicine, their rent, and the small groceries that kept them going. But this month, things had been harder. The hotel had cut her hours. A few guests had complained about nothing, and the manager had to reduce shifts. Elena didn't argue. She never argued. She just nodded, said thank you, and walked home with a heavy heart. She had saved what she could. She had skipped meals. She had even sold her late mother's old necklace, a small silver cross that had been in the family for years. It broke her heart to let it go, but she told herself that her mother would have understood. A mother always understands when her child needs help. Now, standing in the pharmacy, she realized it still wasn't enough. The medicine cost $63. She had 41. The pharmacist, a kind older man named Mr. Patel, looked at her with tired eyes. He had seen this before. So many times. People coming in with hope in their eyes and leaving with shame in their hearts. "Can I pay half today?" Elena asked, her voice barely a whisper. "And the rest next week?" "I promise. I have a shift coming. I'll have the money." Mr. Patel shook his head slowly. "I'm sorry. The store policy. I can't split it. The system won't allow it." Elena felt her throat tighten. She looked down at the floor. Her shoes were worn, the soles thin from the long walks to and from the bus stop. She wanted to cry, but she held it in. She had learned long ago that tears didn't buy medicine. "Okay," she said softly. "Thank you anyway." She turned to leave. Her hand gripped the prescription so tightly that the paper crinkled. She took a step toward the door. The bell above it chimed as a customer walked in. And then she heard a voice. "Excuse me." It was a man. She didn't look up at first. She just stood there, frozen between the door and the counter, trying to gather the strength to walk out and face her son without the medicine. "Excuse me," he said again. This time she looked. He was tall, maybe in his early 60s, with silver hair and gentle eyes. He wore a simple plaid shirt and held a small bottle of vitamins in his hand. Nothing flashy, nothing that made him stand out. But his eyes, there was something in his eyes, a warmth that seemed familiar, like the way her father used to look at her before he passed. "I couldn't help but overhear," he said quietly. His voice was calm, kind. "That medicine, it's for your son." Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. "May I see the prescription?" he asked. She hesitated for a moment, but something about him felt safe. So she handed it over. He looked at it carefully, reading Matteo's name and the dosage. Then he looked at the price on the counter. He didn't say anything for a long moment. He just nodded, almost to himself, as if making a quiet decision. Then he walked to the counter, placed his vitamins down, and pulled out his wallet. "Add her medicine to my bill, please," he said to Mr. Patel. Elena's breath caught. "No, sir. I can't let you." He held up a hand, gently, like a father calming a worried child. "Please," he said. "Let me." Mr. Patel looked from the man to Elena, then back again. "Sir, that's $63. The man nodded. "I know. Ring it up." Elena felt her eyes burn. "I don't know who you are," she said, her voice cracking. "I can't accept this. I'll pay you back somehow. I promise." The man turned to her, and he smiled. It was a slow, warm smile, full of something she couldn't quite name. Peace, maybe, or understanding. "Years ago," he said, "someone did this for me. My daughter was sick. I had nothing. I couldn't afford the treatment. And a stranger paid the bill. Just like this. I never saw that stranger again. I never got to say thank you." He paused. His eyes glistened. "So I promised myself," he continued, "that if I ever had the chance to pass it on, I would. Today, that chance came. Elena shook her head. Tears were falling now. She couldn't stop them. You don't even know me. I don't need to, he said. I just know that somewhere out there, a little boy is waiting for his mother to come home with his medicine, and she can't go home without it. He reached into his wallet again and pulled out a $20 bill. He placed it on the counter next to the prescription. For the bus ride home, he said, and maybe something warm to eat. Elena covered her mouth with her hand. She couldn't speak. The tears were flowing freely now, silent and hot down her cheeks. Mr. Patel packed the medicine in a small brown bag. He handed it to her with both hands, as if offering something sacred. God bless you, Mr. Patel said softly, and he looked at the silver-haired man with a knowing gaze. Elena took the bag. She clutched it to her chest like a lifeline. She tried to thank the man, to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. All she could do was whisper, "Thank you. Thank you so much." The man simply nodded. "Go home to your son," he said. "He's waiting." And with that, he paid for his vitamins and walked out of the pharmacy. The bell chimed as the door closed behind him. Elena stood there for a long moment, holding the medicine, feeling its weight in her hands. It was light, so light, and yet it carried the weight of a stranger's kindness. She hurried home. The bus ride felt longer than usual. She kept looking at the brown bag, afraid that somehow the medicine would disappear. But it didn't. It stayed. A small, ordinary miracle. When she opened the door to her apartment, Matteo was sitting on the couch. His little face lit up when he saw her. "Mommy, you're home." She knelt down and hugged him tightly. She held him longer than usual. She felt his small heart beating against her chest. She felt his breath, slightly labored but steady. And she whispered a prayer of thanks, not just for the medicine, but for the stranger, for the kindness that had found her on a day when she had almost lost hope. That night, after Matteo took his medicine and fell asleep, Elena sat by the window. She looked out at the city lights and thought about the man. She didn't know his name. She didn't know where he lived. All she knew was that he had seen her struggle, and he had chosen to help. Not because he had to, but because someone had once helped him. And in that moment, Elena made a promise to herself. She would pass it on too. One day, when she had the chance, she would be the stranger who paid without a word. She would be the one who saw the invisible and gave without hesitation. Days passed. Matteo grew stronger. His breathing improved. The color returned to his cheeks. Elena found a new job, one with better hours. Life slowly began to feel less heavy. And then, one afternoon, she returned to the pharmacy. She had saved $63. She walked up to Mr. Patel and placed the money on the counter. "This is for the man," she said. "The one who paid. I don't know his name, but I told you I'd pay it back." Mr. Patel looked at the money. Then he looked at Elena. "He came back last week," Mr. Patel said. "He asked about you. I told him you were doing okay." He smiled and said, "That's all I needed to know." Then he left. Elena felt her heart swell. "But I have the money now. I can give it to you. You can give it to him if he comes back." Mr. Patel shook his head. "He told me something." He said, "Tell her she doesn't owe me anything. She just needs to do for someone else what I did for her. That's how this works." Elena stood there, the money still in her hand. And she understood. The gift wasn't about repayment. It was about continuation. It was about a chain of kindness that stretched back through years and strangers, through moments of grace and silent generosity. She put the money back in her purse. And she smiled. A real smile, warm and full of peace. And somewhere, in another part of the city, a silver-haired man sat in his small home, drinking tea by the window. He looked out at the street and smiled. He didn't know what had happened at the hotel, but something told him that the kindness was still flowing, that the chain was still unbroken. And that, he thought, was the most beautiful thing of all. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can change someone's world. We may never know the full impact of what we give, but every time we choose compassion, we plant a seed that will bloom in ways we can't see. So be the stranger. Give without expecting. And trust that somewhere, someone will pass it on. Share this story if it touched your heart.